I can tell you where it started. I was 6 years old and I was sitting cross-legged on the veranda with my magnifying glass. A gift from my stepfather. He thought I'd grow up to be a scientist. Angling it just right so the light would shine and point directly on the ant that I had been stalking. I remember the sizzle, the way they'd squirm, then plop and explode. Later, I'd catch bugs and spiders and I'd pin them to the wall and watch them die. Slowly. Oh, the control. The power. It was my world and I was God. It didn't stop there. No, you'd always want more. You always got tired of the little things. My first real kill was my sister Annie's cat. You know how aloof cats can be. The fucking animal hated me. So I thought it was time to teach her and my sister a lesson, for that matter. Always calling me weird and a freak. I strangled it with my bare hands and I hung its head from a hook above her bed so it was the first thing she'd seen in the morning. They sent me off to a shrink after that. I was cleverer than him, though. About 2 months later, he had me sent home with a boys will just be boys speech to my parents. So I kept things quiet for a while. Snakes, rats, birds, any small animal I could get my hands on, in fact. There's a great sense of power watching something die. Staring into its eyes as it draws its last breath. It's almost pleasurable. I've always been a loner. No friends at school or at college. Not anybody's fault. I just don't like people much. I liked her, Justine. Hair like chocolate milk that ran down her back with bright emerald eyes, like Annie's cat. She was soft. I tried to talk to her. I even sent her a letter telling her how I feel, but she just ignored me. One day, I overheard her telling her friend that she thought I was a fucking freak. There it was again, that word. Nobody was supposed to call me that. Nobody, especially not her. She worked at the coffee shop in the center of town. She would be locking up that night. I've seen her do it before. I waited till she locked the doors. And I grabbed it from behind and stuffed the rag covered in chlorophyll over her face. She sagged into my arms and I put her in my car. We drove back to my room and I carried her in. She looked so beautiful, lying there on my bed. I stripped her naked and tied her to my bedposts. She was so beautiful. I spent the rest of the night watching her sleep. She woke up the next afternoon. The silly bitch started screaming. I had to stick her panties in her mouth. She didn't listen to me. I kept telling her how beautiful she was, and she'd just keep screaming, crying, and struggling. We made love for the next few days. She pretended to struggle, and she cried often. I think she enjoyed it. I fed her properly. I washed her and took her to the bathroom. I treated her like a fucking princess. Silly bitch was so ungrateful. On the last night, she bit me while I was making love. So I pulled her panties out of her mouth, and I wrapped them around her neck, and I watched her eyes as she drew her last breath. The pleasure, the power, the release.